Everybody, thanks for joining us in this video. If you are new here, welcome. I'm Jeihan. I hope you enjoy my content. A lot of you guys have been asking me how to practice pronunciation by yourself, or what can you do to improve your pronunciation and accent. Of course, I'm going to share my tips that I use to practice for myself with you. But first, I don't think that having an accent is a bad thing. Actually, many native speakers think that it's cool when they hear someone speaking with their own accent. And we are all different, so clearly we can't all speak the same. Personally, I like to work on my pronunciation. I practice so hard and so many times to make it as perfect as possible. I also think it's important to learn the accent of the foreign language you are learning and showing some respect to this language by committing to their accent. But that's just me. Because I believe that sometimes if you're working in a native English speaking environment or you're living in a place includes a lot of native speakers, speaking with your own accent could cause some misunderstanding. So this is why I think that you have to work on your pronunciation a little bit. And if you're just like me, self-development and the fuzziest, and you just want to enjoy it and be comfortable with who you are, so do whatever you want. And practice hard on your pronunciation, whatever makes you happy. You can watch this video just for fun and I do what I preach. So everything I'll be mentioning in this video I've already done and I'm doing all the time to get better and better at speaking English. So if you are a beginner in this whole pronunciation thing and you're trying to get better, so you should start with the basics. And with basics I mean with sounds. So start with sounds. What the sounds are in a specific language and what are the mechanics of pronouncing them is very important to learn how to speak this language. And it's important to pay attention to the movement of your jaw, lips and teeth, all of your facial expressions, because these movements may differ from your own original language. Other languages use other movements and other muscles in the face. Number 2, you proceed practicing some words. You can do this as you go on with learning the sounds. Let's say you've learned how to pronounce the sound O or the double O. So when you read the word book, you can also read words like look, hook, etc. If it's boring for you to start with the sounds, you can start off with the words, but to be honest, sounds are the basics. Because when you are breaking down the pronunciation of any word, you still have to look at the individual sounds of this word in order to pronounce it correctly. One option I can give you if you can't or if you don't want to spend money on courses and pronunciation courses especially, or hiring a pronunciation coach. So YouTube is your go-to place. Of course, there are a lot of channels that speak the native American or British accents and you can learn from these videos. And there are wonderful channels about pronunciation and you're going to choose the one that suits you the best. It should suit your level of English if you are a beginner, an intermediate or an advanced person. So you should pay attention to this before you choose the video that you're going to learn the pronunciation from. And of course it's very helpful because you're doing this by your own self. If you don't know that you are sounding correct, so you can record your voice or record a video of yourself speaking and then you have to compare between the original video and the video of yours or the recording of voice, and I'm sure you're going to find a lot of differences. And you're going to hear it if something doesn't sound right. Here I want to touch on an essential part of this pronunciation practice thing. First of all, before you learn how to speak, you should learn how to listen. So listening is a very essential and crucial part of this process. You absolutely have to listen a lot and pay attention the way native speakers are speaking. As I said, you can listen to YouTube to know how native speakers are pronouncing specific sounds and words, of course. You can even slow down a video to hear it slowly. You know that there is an option in the settings where you can slow down the video. As shown in this picture, you can just press the setting and slow down the video so you can hear the sounds. The same goes for practicing different sounds blending and transitions between sounds, phrases and sentences. If you are really serious, you should be attentive, curious and consistent and really practice hard. I want to pay attention to what I'm saying right now. Working on your pronunciation is going to take a lot of time, so be patient. It's like working out. First, you learn how to do the exercise, then you practice them. It's the same. And after time, you're going to get used to this routine. After a while, you start getting some real results. And how can you maintain these results? Of course, by working regularly. What this means, it means practice, practice, practice. And you practice by using what you've learned, and this should be your new normal. Well, in a perfect world, right, everyone's in a different situation. And doing something is always better than doing nothing at all. Keep this in mind. One more tip, don't ditch practicing and always review. There are words, phrases, transitions, contractions that you don't have a problem with. But there are those that are not that easy and they need extra attention and practice. How many practice did I say until now? So polish these sounds and practice even if it's 1,000 times. Not at once, of course, but you have to repeat more than 100 times. Work on them, drill them until you feel completely comfortable pronouncing them and until they sound the way they are supposed to sound. Then, of course, you want to get the hang on contractions because that's what makes native speakers' speech much more natural and fast. So if you need an extra opinion or extra need on this, or maybe consultation about this, you can also hire a pronunciation coach if you can. So I mentioned a bunch of options, let's review them. The first steps, sounds, words, phrases, sentences. Then comes the contractions and how you make them. Don't forget about tongue twisters, it's a great tool. They are designed to help you practice these tricks and the tricky sounds. Let's take consonant blends like this. We have to learn how to make the transition between these sounds. Let's take a phrase, not a tongue twister. First things first, first things first, first things first. It sounds that you're not pronouncing the T in first and you are blending it with the th. First things first. In this way, actually, it feels more smooth and more easier to pronounce. I'm not going to get into too much details about this. I hope you get the idea. Or you can practice questions like, what's the rush? What's the rush? What is the rush? What is the rush? Some people get confused between the W and the V. I don't know why, but some trainings actually get confused between these two sounds. For example, it's November, November, not November, November. Because I understand in some accents or languages, the V or the W is pronounced as V or vice versa. Just so we are crystal clear, just so we are crystal clear. So here you can see that the L is blended with the other sounds. A funny thing, right? So get ready for your face muscles, as I said in the introduction. So these muscles are going to hurt because you may not be using them in your original language, but now you are going to use them in the English language because they have different positions because of the drills, the tongue twisters and the blending. When your tongue doesn't listen to your brain anymore, just stop, take a break for 1 hour, 1 day, even a week, until you feel comfortable to come back because your muscles still remember. We call it the memory of the muscles or the muscles memory. So the muscles of the face still remember how to pronounce these sounds. So when you try again, after this break, everything is going to be okay and you're going to pronounce it correctly. Okay, if there is a phrase that you cannot pronounce easily because maybe of the speed or of the transitions or of the blending, whatever, or the tongue twisters, try to break it down into small pieces. Let's take the word regularly. Regularly. So try to break these sounds into smaller sounds until you get the whole word correctly. Breaking down these sounds helps your brain and mouth to get used to these pronunciation, to these sounds, or to this routine. And by time, you're going to speed up because you're working on these muscles, so they have to learn how to move these muscles, the positions and the transitions very quickly. Now there is another thing. If you have the attention to learn a new accent and you are willing to succeed at this accent, there are few things that you have to do when you are practicing. Exaggerate. Yes, you heard me well. Exaggerate what you're saying. Exaggerating the sounds is very helpful, especially when you're learning a new accent. You might feel weird at the poster for some time, but it's okay. You're going to get used to it and you're going to be better and better. Overdo sounds and exaggerate these stresses and intonations, because sometimes when we are speaking we tend to slow down, but in this case you have to stress more and more and pay attention to this fact. You have to learn to head these sounds correctly, especially the vowels, the long vowels. Let's say like the long I in the word week, or leave, or meet. If you don't stretch it out, it might sound like quick, or live, or sheep. It might look like ship. So you need to stretch this I out. When you prolong these sounds, you get used to it and you pronounce it like naturally at the end of it. This is very important, of course, because when native speakers listen to us, they should understand what we are saying, because they might get confused between the meanings. Like sheep is an animal, while ship is like a big boat. So there is a difference. Practicing these vowels, the intonation, is going to help you a lot. If it feels super weird to you, imagine yourself as an actor who has to memorize his role or this accent or this language, and you have to perform it. So this actor or actress must practice before performing this role. One more point is consistency. If you started, you should keep moving toward this direction. Forget about shyness, awkwardness. So when you speak to any of the native speakers, try to use all the words and the sounds that you know. Even if you think it's not that perfect, and this is very painful to mention, that I listen a lot of stories from my trainees because they feel shamed of their accent, or some people might embarrass them for speaking in English or in a different accent. So it's okay, ignore all of this and ignore all of these unwanted opinions and focus on your improvement. Because I work on my pronunciation, I used to pronounce some words in a different way. It was not that correct, believe me, but after all, I got it all and I learned how to pronounce them. Another thing that you have to make sure of, that there are a lot of accents in one country, even in the USA or in England. There are a lot of accents in the same country, so you won't be able to speak all of these accents. So this is why you have to try only one accent. The only thing that you have to remember, that as long as you are trying and you are working hard and you are practicing, you are moving forward. So you improve and you progress and do whatever you want and whatever makes you feel comfortable, and try not to stress over this. I know that it sounds boring when I say practice, be patient, be consistent, repeat and repeat and repeat, but actually it's my biggest piece of advice. I hope this information helped. I send you lots of love. I want you to concentrate on the positive side of the things and stay safe. You know what to do. Give us thumbs, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get a notification every time we post a new video. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.